Hello, thank you for joining me today. My name is Dennis, and welcome to my art channel. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit back in the ordinary. Going back to some simple watercolors. Got my favorite palette here, pumping down a bit of yellow, a bit of red, and just doing a starter wash. And then immediately going in with a bit of a smaller brush, trying to make some lines, some marks, anything that feels good, feels right. I guess it doesn't necessarily have to be anything, but it does have to feel right. Just putting down some ovals, I guess. I'm not really sure what's going on here now. I'm just trying to fill out the page, make something interesting, I suppose. I hope your day is going well. I feel like it's a pretty chill day getting to paint here. Thank you for joining me for it. I feel like I'm starting very warm. Got all this red, three kinds of red going down here. We got something a little more pinkish, a little more reddish. Not so much on the orange, but I feel like that's yet to be mixed. Gotta push the color in a little more, make some gradients. Next color on the block is blue. Mixing that in, making some accidental drops there. I think loaded a bit too much onto the brush, but just try to feel free. Get some neutral red on there and wick it around, get it all throughout the page. Not trying to relieve some pressure, relieve some stress, not add to it, but sometimes you do have to, I have to give myself some problems, mess up the paper a little bit, and see what feels right to react. At least that's how it feels putting on such like a saturated yellow followed by a purple. Adding these parts of the palette definitely makes things a bit more complicated, as they definitely stand out from the wash that I've made. And so I do have to touch some more areas across the page and spread the color a bit further. As I mix the blue onto the still wet yellow, it does start to make a few greens here and there. Just the beginnings of it, though, still pretty early on this painting process. But especially in that like top left, you can see some of that lime green color. Somewhere in the middle as well, I think. But yeah, just trying to express myself here. Got quite the brush. It's able to make some delicate little lines and some more broad strokes if I desire. Just like that. Filling in large area with this neutral red, this brownish kind of color. Reminds me of decking or tree. Following it up with the blue, bit of ocean, bit of water. Just some of the interpretations of pure color, little meanings for the things on the palette. Got a mixed green here, trying to weave it in between some of these areas, hit that untouched paper in the center, although really at this point there isn't any untouched area. The wash covered every square inch with a bit of pigment. It's just that as we progress and get some darker areas. Those lighter areas will start to stand out. And I've got to control those areas and try to make them appealing and not overly dramatic and drawing too much attention. I do want to bring attention to areas, but it has to be a little more, I guess, I'm trying to direct your eye, if that makes sense. And the way that I do that is like I'm looking at it, looking at the painting, and where I feel is interesting, I want to then paint and draw away from there and see if I can drag the attention from one area to another and break and create balance in different ways. As these colors are coming down and the paper is still wet, I'm able to mix in some additional colors and create new ones on the page. Like adding this yellow. There's nowhere that is going to be pure yellow. I mean, the initial drop is pure, but I'm going to follow that up with a bit of blue, and instantly it's turning into a nice little green. Mix yellow into the red and we'll get some orange. It's just basic colors, but it feels fun making it happen. Having that illusion of control on the page. I'm really not in control of anything here. It's just the water absorbing into the page by itself. I'm simply using a tool to choose where the water starts, but it's got to do the work of absorbing into the page. Every painting that I make looks quite a bit different after the video is done. I think that's why I try to start a lot of the videos cutting out an older painting, because you get to see that difference and how it does dull some areas as it dries, washes out some of the more saturated color as it spreads into the paper. But I feel like the finished watercolor also gets a bit more of a lightness and holds more of the, I guess, ethereal qualities of watercolor, being that delicate wash. Especially when it's dried, it feels like almost like you're painting with coffee or something like that. It's something quite delicate, especially in contrast with the acrylics I was working with the past couple of weeks. Those are very heavy body paints, and you can tell on the canvas itself. It's hard to see the plain canvas behind the paint, versus here I feel like the watercolor becomes more part of the paper versus the acrylic sitting on top of the cotton, if that makes sense. I feel like I'm definitely going on a bit of a tangent here, but I feel like I'm trying to connect this painting with my last. I wanted to go back to watercolor before I lose track of myself and they'll go too deep into another medium. I want to make sure I'm grounded and feel comfortable with this one. Playing with all the colors, and maybe that's too much, maybe it's too much color, but I'm hoping that some of these areas, like the left and the middle orange area that are more saturated, will contrast with like the lighter areas, like the purple that's fading out, looking a bit like a line of something. I'm not gonna put down any interpretations here, but a line of something there, and I feel like it's able to build off of that. Either it's falling in, or that's just the base ground, something like that. Little thing going on there. It's important to keep in mind, I feel like, the goal of the work, and for me, I feel like I'm trying to make something that's meaningful rather than something that's necessarily beautiful and attractive to look at, if that makes sense. Like, not so worried about the aesthetic of the painting. I just hope that it's able to evoke some sort of emotions, especially through the colors and the little lines that I'm making, just the bit of emotion I'm putting through it. Sometimes I feel like I'm painting just a little animal, like a little bird. Sometimes I feel like I've got something a bit of a larger scope, taking a slice straight out of my life. Maybe on a more cynical kind of tone, a painting like this is like a view of a world post-humans, where things are almost like radioactive and the colors are super intense. You won't see a concrete wall building or a brick building here. It's all reclaimed by the wild. That sort of idea. But I don't know if I was invested too heavily into that sort of a thought here. I just feel like that's how I like to think of these paintings sometimes, with how just bright and almost Favian the coloring is, just really crazy, unrealistic kind of colors. I hope that it's able to connect something that's real, you know? I hope you know. Let me know in those comments down below what you actually think of this painting, if it evoked any emotion in you at all, or if you see something in it, something interesting that you want to share. I'm always curious what you have going on, so please share in the comments below. A little close-up of the painting. You can see all the little divots, lines, and imperfections. Nothing like imperfections. But yeah, thank you once again so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you next week. Take care. Peace out.